McLaren are on the verge of history, with Oscar Piastri leading Lando Norris by 31 points in the Drivers' Championship. The Papaya squad looks set to clinch back-to-back Constructors' Championships. For a team that not so long ago was struggling in the midfield, this rise has been nothing short of extraordinary. Yet in Formula One, dominance is fragile. Tomorrow's regulation changes can turn today's powerhouse into tomorrow's struggler. And Zak Brown knows this better than anyone, which is why whispers from the paddock have stunned the phone community. Reports suggest Brown has quietly floated the idea of bringing none other than Max Verstappen into the McLaren fold. Imagine it. Verstappen, the ultimate rival, the relentless Red Bull warrior, suddenly dressed in papaya orange. It sounds impossible. And yet, in phone, the impossible often has a way of becoming reality. Before we dive deeper into this explosive rumor, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you love uncovering the stories behind Formula One's biggest moves, this is the place where you'll always get the truth first. Music. Zak Brown may publicly praise his current drivers. Piastri and Norris have been near flawless this season, but privately, reports hint at something else. Ambition, and in Formula One, ambition is everything. Despite back-to-back constructors' titles, McLaren cannot afford to stand still, especially with the sweeping 2026 regulation changes looming. History has shown us time and again that dynasties can crumble in a heartbeat. Mercedes ruled the hybrid era from 2014, only to watch Red Bull seize control when the ground effect era began in 2022. Brown knows that if McLaren are to survive the next era at the very top, they need not only the strongest car and engine, but the strongest driver lineup possible. And who fits that description better than Max Verstappen? Let's be clear, Verstappen has been McLaren's biggest headache all season. He's the man who disrupted their dominance at Suzuka, the opportunist who pounced at Imola when Piastri made a small error, and the destroyer of dreams at Monza, where he left the field almost 20 seconds behind. Even when Red Bull aren't at their best, Verstappen finds a way to drag them into contention. That ability to bend a race to his will is exactly what Brown admired. He has already admitted in interviews that he would love to work with Max, even joking about teaming up in endurance racing. But behind the humor lies a serious undertone. Brown is playing the long game. Now, the wording used by Phone Insider is intriguing. They report that Brown could imagine Verstappen racing for McLaren, but that he doesn't want to, or perhaps isn't allowed to, say it publicly. This suggests two things. First, that the idea has at least been entertained internally. And second, that McLaren may be cautious about unsettling their current drivers, both of whom are still fighting for a world championship. The fact that Brown has already loosely approached Jos Verstappen, Max's father and longtime advisor, after the Dutchman's fourth championship is no coincidence. Zak is planting seeds. Another layer to this story comes from McLaren's upcoming expansion into the World Endurance Championship in 2027. Brown has openly said he would welcome Verstappen in that program. Could this be a stepping stone? Imagine Verstappen committing to McLaren in endurance racing, establishing trust, connections, and technical cooperation before making the jump into Formula One with the team. It might sound far-fetched, but in phone, relationships matter just as much as contracts. By opening the endurance door, Brown could be creating the perfect environment to lure Verstappen away from Red Bull. But Brown's challenge is immense, because every major team is preparing their own Verstappen strategy. Mercedes are carefully structuring George Russell's contract to leave room for Max, should he wish to join in 2027. Aston Martin, with Honda power and the looming presence of Adrian Newey, who has a history of working with Verstappen, could become an attractive package if they nail the new regulation. And Ferrari remain the eternal temptation. With Hamilton's contract potentially running out, the Scuderia could position themselves as Verstappen's next great conquest. Add to that the adoration Max received at Monza after storming to victory, and Ferrari suddenly looks less like fantasy and more like destiny. So why would Verstappen choose McLaren over these giants? The answer lies in trajectory and stability. Red Bull, once untouchable, are now facing turbulence. Adrian Newey's departure, management infighting, and questions over their long-term power unit competitiveness are cracks in the foundation. Meanwhile, McLaren are doing everything right. Strong financial backing, Mercedes engines, Andrea Stella's steady leadership, and a pair of young stars who have proven they can handle the pressure, Verstappen might look at McLaren and see the one team poised to dominate the post-2026 era. If he wants to cement his legacy, jumping into a rising empire rather than trying to rescue a crumbling one could be the smarter move. There's also Verstappen's personal motivation to consider. He thrives on challenge. He isn't the type to settle for comfort or complacency. At Red Bull, he has achieved everything. 4 world titles, countless wins, and a near-mythical status. What's left for him there? But imagine joining McLaren, taking on 2 of the best young drivers on the grid, and building a new dynasty under Mercedes' power. It would be the ultimate statement of his greatness. Verstappen could prove that he isn't just the product of Red Bull's machine. He is the machine. Of course, there are risks. Would Verstappen be willing to walk into a team where he isn't the unquestioned number one? Both Norris and Piastri are still young, ambitious, and hungry. McLaren would have to manage egos as well as performance. We've seen how destructive internal rivalries can be. Just ask Mercedes about Hamilton versus Rosberg. But then again, Brown may believe that having 3 potential champions in play only strengthens McLaren's position. It's a high-risk, high-reward gamble. But the potential payoff is a dynasty that could outlast anything Formula One has seen before. Ultimately, this is about more than Verstappen. It's about McLaren's identity. Zak Brown wants to ensure the team never slips back into mediocrity. He knows that Formula One doesn't reward complacency. By even entertaining the idea of signing Verstappen, he sends a message to the paddock. McLaren are not here to just enjoy their current success, they are building an empire. And empires, as history tells us, are built not by playing it safe, but by daring to rewrite the rules of the game. So here's the question. If Max Verstappen really does leave Red Bull, would McLaren be the perfect destination? Or would Ferrari, Mercedes, or Aston Martin offer him a greater legacy? And more importantly, do you believe Zak Brown has the courage, the resources, and the persuasion to make this audacious move happen? Let me know what you think in the comments.